First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. It's important that we start speaking out. It's important that you start paying attention. It's important whether you share it on social media or you have private conversations with your friends and family, that you reaffirm where your social norms are. This is why getting rich is more important than ever before. Getting rich is going to buy you the time to think. Getting rich is going to allow you to decouple from the existing systems. What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and in today's video, I want to explore a topic that I don't know how it's going to be received, but I'm curious to see how you guys receive it. So I want to talk about what I perceive to be as the extreme importance of getting rich, but also getting rich now. I don't think you can wait decades anymore to get rich, and we'll explore all this, but in essence, part of the reason is because I see a slippery slope towards authoritarianism, tyranny, and all the negative things we associate with fascism. So anyways, what I want to explore here today is just like in an open and honest dialogue that I hope we're mature enough to have, is understanding that the rich are different. So like if you're not rich, you're not rich, and you're not going to get the same sort of opportunities or the ability to necessarily fight against the system. And so that to me is really what I see getting your financial independence, your financial freedom, is the ability to speak out. Because far too often when we find ourselves on these slippery slips towards tyranny, it's the individuals that feel handcuffed to the current system, that feel handcuffed to the as is or the status quo, that are forced to go along with it, rather than being able to speak out and really rally or fight against it. And we're going to explore this a lot in a bunch of different different sections today. But what really inspired me initially to start thinking about this was a new newsletter I've recently signed up for, and that's Marty Bentz. So I want to encourage you guys to check that out. But in issue 961 that came out a few days ago, he explored the gradually, then suddenly slip towards authoritarianism. And so let's talk about this. And I think one of the reasons that this comes up is what's shown on the screen there. This point in time, sometimes I'm even scared to say these words because I feel that my YouTube channel is always at risk of just disappearing overnight or being banned. And as a small creator, I know that I would just disappear in the night. And again, let's actually explore that. The fact that I'm actually kind of scared of coming out negatively against COVID passports, or want to maybe explore concerns about vaccines related to COVID specifically, immediately could disqualify and destroy my YouTube channel. YouTube has power over me, right? You guys realize that, right? Like, while I opt into it, they do have coercive power over me. And there's a lot of YouTubers that would speak differently if they didn't need YouTube, right? If there was an equal platform that got you the same level of attention, but allowed you to completely speak free, openly and honestly, a lot of us would drift towards that platform. The real issue is they've got a lot of the attention. And that's for a multitude of reasons. And it's going to be easy for a lot of people that want to immediately just attack me for these thoughts, to say like tinfoil hat Matt or whatever, right, that I'm being paranoid. It's really important you guys understand that throughout today's conversation, I'm not implying that there's some master cabal out there of like Illuminati that have this perfect plan in place that's been in place for thousands of years. I'm not claiming that. What I'm claiming is that people naturally have certain incentives. So whether we're looking at the incentive of your health czar, right? Whoever currently gets to dictate the health policies in your province or state, those people got a lot of power during COVID. They either have to give it up and give up all their funding, all their new assistants, all their new employees, or they have to find a way to continue the emergency. And maybe they start to rationalize or justify it through the thought or the lens of, hey, you know what? While maybe COVID's not that big of a deal, there's all these other problems that also need to be fixed. So I'm just going to stay in power just a little bit longer and just try and fix things just a little bit better. And maybe they've got great intentions. Maybe they've got evil intentions. But either way, there's some significant unintended consequences to essentially just giving all this power over. And so one of the first things that Marty explores in his newsletter here was an kind of an excerpt from They Thought They Were Free, the Germans, 1933 to 45. And so I've got it up here on screen and just want to highlight a few things. You legitimately just need to go read the entire thing, or at least read the excerpts here that we're going to cover. But it's powerful, and I think that it's more important than ever that we turn to history. Like society, life, all this shit to me is just like, it's patterns, it's cycles, it's loops, it's circles, it's whatever you want to call it. But history may not exactly repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. And so there's a lot of things that unfortunately rhyme about the 1930s Germany, and where a lot of us find ourselves in Western democracies today. So I just want to highlight a few here. What happened here was the gradual habituation of the people, little by little, to being governed by surprise, to receiving decisions deliberated in secret, to believing that the situation was so complicated that the government had to act on information which the people could not understand, or so dangerous that even if the people could not understand it, it could not be released because of national security. And their sense of identification with Hitler, their trust in him, made it easier to widen this gap and reassured those who would otherwise have worried about it. Yeah, there's a lot of information these days that the government thinks that's just too powerful and too secretive to let us know. There's also a lot of things they just think you're too stupid to do, right? Like, if you're a visible minority in the US right now, they literally think that you're too stupid to be able to go get ID in order to vote. Just gonna leave that there. And on top of that were the demands in the community, the things in which one had to, was expected to participate that had not been there or had not been important before. It was all rigmarole, of course, but it consumed all one's energies, coming up on top of the work one really wanted to do. You can see how easy it was then not to think about the fundamental things. One had no time. There's a lot of people scrambling right now. Small business owners, they don't have any fucking time because they're trying to figure out, is it legal today to be in business or not? Because the rules are changing every goddamn day. Parents are too busy to think because they've had their children thrust back upon them, even though the system was originally taking care of them. And they now have to figure out how to work from home, or they've lost their job and now they're trying to figure out how to navigate the CERB payment programs and how to get money from the government. But again, all this distracts us, right? The 24-hour news cycle of panic and fear and mongering and ICU beds, but they never show the stats, right? How is this to be avoided among ordinary men, even highly educated ordinary men? Frankly, I do not know. I do not see even now. Many, many times since it all happened, I've pondered that pair of great maxims. Principiis obsta and finem respice. Resist the beginnings and consider the end. But one must foresee the end in order to resist, or even see the beginnings. One must foresee the end clearly and certainly. And how is this to be done by ordinary men or even extraordinary men? Things might have, and everyone counts on that might. This is why getting rich is more important than ever before. Getting rich is going to buy you the time to think. Getting rich is going to allow you to decouple from the existing systems, right? Unlike other YouTubers, I'll at least explore the words COVID in a video because YouTube isn't my entire life. It legit isn't, guys. I enjoy it a lot. I love the relationship I've built with some of my audience. I love the spin-off businesses I've been able to create because of YouTube. But if they take this away from me tomorrow, I can survive, right? I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole because this would make this video even longer. But have you seen the new changes to the Ontario Employment Act, right? Where essentially an employer, I'm an employer right now, if my employees don't get vaccines, I can dismiss them and they can't be paid. And they're now just outside of the system, struggling, right? Now, I'd almost be the exact opposite employer. People were asking about whether we were going to give Easter Monday off. And I said, only if you break the law by seeing your family will I give you Easter Monday off. But anyways, that'll probably get me in trouble. But it's really important that you guys understand this because with that financial freedom comes the ability to talk like this, right? And we're going to explore that a little bit further and why so many Bitcoiners are so extremely oriented towards freedom, or why so many people oriented towards freedom or oriented towards Bitcoin. But again, if you don't have the time, right, like they talked here, no one had time to think. No one had time to begin to imagine the beginning or the end of this. And if you don't buy yourself that time, You're just going to go along with the stream of consciousness of the general public. Uncertainty is a very important factor. Instead of decreasing as time goes on, it grows. Outside in the streets, in the general community, everyone is happy. One hears no protests and certainly sees none. You know, in France or Italy, there would be slogans against the government painted on walls and fences. In Germany, outside the great cities, perhaps there is not even this. In the university community, in your own community, you speak privately to your colleagues, some of whom certainly feel as you do. But what do they say? They say, it's not so bad, or you're seeing things, or you're an alarmist. It's very easy to find yourself called that these days, right? That you're an anti-vaxxer if you don't want vaccine passports. That you're anti-science if you won't just go along with whatever they say, even though they don't share data. Literally, Steven Crowder gets his YouTube videos banned when he shares stats from the CDC, right? Like in Europe right now, literally their lockdowns are being overthrown by their Supreme Courts, right? By their court system as being unconstitutional. Here in Canada, Toronto in North America has been the city most locked down, right? And right now, people are just screaming for more lockdowns because they've gone along with the psyops of the government, right? The government pours so many billions of dollars in the US, hundreds of millions of dollars in Canada into the national news systems, right? So whether you're talking about a CBC, a Toronto Star, it doesn't matter. All these newspapers, all these entities receive government subsidies. They also need the government to go along to be allowed into the press conferences so that they can get the breaking news, right? They need to stay on the right side of the AP so that they can be a part of that organization. There's all these different things that couple us to the existing system. And the more tethers, the more strings you have to it, the easier it is for them to make you a puppet. And that's why getting rich is more fucking important than it has ever been before. And that's why I think these days, and again, you're going to see this on my content more and more, you need some of your wealth outside of their system. Being rich but owning real estate makes you vulnerable. Being rich but owning stocks makes you vulnerable. Being rich but having it in their banks makes you vulnerable. Being rich and having it in Bitcoin on cold wallets with your own nodes kind of makes you a sovereign individual. And so, again, you guys should read every sentence in this entire little excerpt. But again, I just wanted to highlight a handful of them because they all ring so true, but some of these just rang so true to me. Suddenly, it all comes down, all at once. You see what you are, what you have done, or more accurately, what you haven't done. For that was all that was required of most of us, that we do nothing. You remember those early meetings of your department in the university when, if one had stood, others would have stood, perhaps, but no one stood. A small matter, a matter of hiring this man or that, and you hired this one rather than that. You remember everything now, and your heart breaks. Too late. You are compromised beyond repair. If you don't get rich right now, and you don't take some of that wealth outside of the system, you will always be a compromised individual. You will always have strings that they can pull. And with big tech and all the other advancements that have made life both amazing and wonderful, but also so easy for fascists to just sweep in and grab power. And the funny thing is, the people that get called fascists the most often are the ones fighting fascists. And it's this hijacking and doublespeak of language. When you have math teachers, and I know it's a little bit more complicated than this, but when you have primary education math teachers saying 2 + 2 = 5 and 2 + 2 = 2, and they can hold those thoughts both at the same time, it sounds like doublespeak in a way, doesn't it? And this is what's very concerning, is this slippery slope we find ourselves on. And I'm just as guilty as the next person. I don't want to get my YouTube channel banned. I don't want to be kicked off of Facebook and Instagram. Because that would literally cost me employees, right? Like I would have to let people go if I was to lose all my social media tomorrow. And that would suck. And so that's a string that they have on. And again, understand that we all have, well, the vast majority of us all have strings that tether us to the existing system. But it's just so important that you try and reduce those strings, that you try and be able to position yourself where you can have some control and you can have some time to really think about what's going on. Because these talks of employers being able to essentially let go employees that don't get vaccinated, or stores not allowing you in if you don't have a vaccine passport or you don't wear a mask. And then the changing of even these terms from once you're vaccinated, you can travel, to once you're vaccinated, long as you still wear a mask, you can travel, till once you're vaccinated and wear a mask, we'll let you go to stores. This is crazy language that we see going on. And again, people will call me an alarmist. They will call me a doomsdayer. They will call me tinfoil hat Matt that sees things where there aren't things there. But I'd rather imagine the beginning and the ending that we're walking into than to look back with hindsight and feel the desperation and just the pure self-loathing, in a sense, that I get from these sort of stories. Because I can see it too. And we're very close. We're on a precipice right now. We are legitimately on a precipice. If you have to show your papers to enter every store, if you have to show your papers to enter every government building, if you have to show your papers to travel from city to city or province to province, that's all we need. That is going to be the suddenly it all comes down at once. And again, this didn't happen overnight in Germany. And if it's happening here, it won't happen overnight here either. But I really appreciate Marty Bentz for having this newsletter and sparking this train of thought. I really encourage you guys to go check it out, because there's a lot of really interesting things occurring here that are just so concerning and feel like history rhyming with itself. And again, I'll leave it to you guys to go through and really dig deep into this. But these ideas of like stores, having signs on them stating about how healthy it is, or the requirement of passports, or the requirement of masks, doesn't feel necessarily dissimilar from the German firm stickers that German stores used to put up during the beginning of the Nazi era, right? So I'm just highlighting here a little bit from Marty Bentz newsletter here. The German fur stickers are now germ-free firm stickers. The powers that are slowly but surely nudging society towards conflict by actively attempting to label and divide us. And they are absolutely labeling and dividing us. Seems that COVID is their issue of choice this year to widen the chasm of division. Nothing makes this clearer than efforts to label businesses in this way and the push for vaccine passports across the country. We are at the precipice of a very slippery slope that will lead to inevitable physical conflict and authoritarianism if strong men and women don't vehemently make a stand today. These programs should be rejected outright by any man or woman who values freedom and liberty, because these programs are aiming to take it away from individuals across the country. I've said it before, but I will say it again. Last time it was an exploration of a conversation. This time it's with relish. If you are for COVID-19 passports or vaccine passports, you are my enemy. You are the enemy of freedom. You are the enemy of liberty. Give me give me liberty or give me death is a beautiful saying that most people, if not now, very soon will view as extremism. They will literally say that you're being extreme for that. And so I could have this go on forever. I'm not going to bore you guys with this. I just want you to go check out this newsletter. I want you to find a way to get rich so you can get in control of your life. Because again, if we don't stand up soon, it may be too late. And so I want to share with you guys what I consider to be one of the most powerful poems. That one, it shocked me how many people on Twitter haven't came across this poem before. I thought that literally just every human being knew this poem almost by heart, because to me, it's just such a stark reminder of how the dangerousness of division, of these divisive policies, right? Like, understand that the people that say that they're against racism view everyone based upon their race, right? Like, they're constantly trying to put us in labels and boxes. And this is so concerning, because in Germany, and this is written actually by like a Lutheran pastor that originally supported Hitler because he was anti-communist. But then he saw Hitler's real intentions of putting the supremacy of the state above all else. above individuals, above religion, above families. So anyways, this is a longer version of the poem that you guys are probably familiar with. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. It's important that we start speaking out. It's important that you start paying attention. It's important whether you share it on social media or you have private conversations with your friends and family, that you reaffirm where your social norms are. For a long time in my life, I didn't actually understand the importance of social norms. I didn't understand the importance of religion. And again, we can dissect all that in another video because I'm not religious whatsoever. But again, this idea of us being social animals, and each one of us is an example, right? Me making this video is hopefully me trying to socially norm you guys into speaking out against wrongs that you see. I'm hoping that this social norm of me having conversations like this, me being willing to risk my YouTube channel on conversations like this, will also help you guys be willing to risk maybe having a difficult conversation with a family member or a difficult conversation with a friend where they just foam at the mouth the moment you say that you don't want to go into another 28 lockdown, regardless of the science, regardless of facts, because feelings. We need to create some lines in the sand. For me, it's the passport thing. Papers, please. No, absolutely not. I will 100% opt out of your system. There are paths available. And so I'm going to start creating a lot more content on this subject. I'm going to start sharing a lot more resources about how you guys can disentangle from the system, because fuck their system. Let's go create our own system. Those of you that have been following me for a long time know that I like to make jokes out of my big goals, but like a reoccurring joke we've made here on the channel is me wanting my own country by age 50. It's unfortunate that I feel like I need to get there faster these days because I thought that was a pretty ambitious goal in and of itself, but it's important we start having these conversations, that you guys start socially norming those around you that this is not okay. Maybe you start to stop wearing masks. Maybe we all start being the people that go into Canadian Tire and get wrestled to the ground because we didn't wear a mask, or we get tackled by cops in front of a grocery store because we refuse to wear a mask. Because again, this isn't trespassing. Like, read up on the rules and regulations. They can't force you. All you need to do is identify as having a medical issue or condition that makes you no longer qualify for it. You don't have to prove it. You do not have to show exactly what your medical condition is. We just need to all stand up. But we need to do it fucking soon. And so this is my step towards standing up. And I hope you guys start stepping up as well. And let me know if there's better ways I can step up. Let me know in the comment section down below. But at the same time, those of you that maybe lean on the extreme of these thoughts, the extreme of this version, when you start talking about lizard people, when you start talking about Illuminati, I don't think you're doing anyone any favors either. It's important that we have this in a very rational discussion manner. I hope that you found this rational. I hope that this was useful. I hope that you guys start standing up more. I'll wrap it up here. We'll have links to everything we shared here in the video. But again, get rich so you can get control of your life, because I don't see another way to disentangle yourself from becoming their puppet. Thank you, guys.